planning a trip to Disneyland Paris, you may want to stay at an on-site hotel to gain access to one of the biggest perks, extra magic hours. In this video, we'll go over your need to know information about extra magic hours, and I'll tell you a bit about my experience with it. For anyone new here, hi, I'm Jacqueline. You are at the Pixie Dust PhD YouTube channel. If you enjoy Disney planning content, I hope you subscribe to the channel. You can then ring the bell icon to receive notifications whenever I upload new videos. Statistically, on average, over 70% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed to the channel. It's totally free for you to subscribe, so I would really appreciate it. It would help me out a lot. And thanks to everyone who's liked the video, left a comment down below, and shared with friends. Extra magic hours at Disneyland Paris are a perk for Disney hotel guests only. By making use of extra magic hours, you will get exclusive access to parts of the Disney parks. Notice how they said parts. We'll get more into that later. Extra magic hours are always subject to availability, and you should check the park hours calendar in advance of your trip. Personally, I found park hours, including extra magic hours, were released 2 months in advance. You do have to be staying at a participating Disney hotel to gain access to extra magic hours. But this is pretty easy. It is all of the Disneyland Paris official hotels. If you're staying at a partner hotel or an affiliate hotel, you will not have access to extra magic hours. If you're staying on property at Disneyland Paris in a Disney hotel, you will have access to extra magic hours. If you qualify, you can use extra magic hours for every day of your stay. This does include check-in day as well as check-out day. We knew this detail in advance of our trip and knew that we really wanted to take advantage on our first day at the parks. Our first day at the parks was also the day we checked into the hotel though, so it's not like we were going to be waking up in a Disney hotel already. Therefore, to expedite the chaos of getting out to the Disneyland Resort area, we actually stayed at an off-site hotel very, very nearby. That way, the morning we were checking into our Disney hotel and could access extra magic hours and go to the parks for the first time, it was a very quick commute over there as opposed to coming in all the way from Paris, which is about 40 minutes or so on the train. Generally speaking, extra magic hours at Disneyland Paris are going to occur 1 hour before park opening, and they will happen both at Disneyland Park and Walt Disney Studios Park. That being said, again, check the park hours calendars to be sure. When we went in August of 2022, Avengers Campus was still fairly new, so they were not doing extra magic hours in the morning at Walt Disney Studios Park. Instead, Avengers Campus only at Walt Disney Studios Park was staying open later in the evening. That's just to say all of this is subject to change, so you really do need to be checking the official Disneyland Paris theme park hours calendar. But if extra magic hours does follow this general trend of being open earlier in the morning, for example, if they open at 9:30 to the general public, then extra magic hours will begin at 8:30 a.m. for hotel guests. There are also some annual pass levels that qualify for extra magic hours. Then, for that first hour in the morning, those two groups of folks, being the hotel guests and the valid annual pass holders, are the only people in the parks. My experience of the process of utilizing extra magic hours at Disneyland Paris was pretty different from what I'm used to at Walt Disney World. This is just my singular experience from one trip. By the time you're out in Disneyland Paris, the process may be slightly different. But briefly, for rope drop at Walt Disney World, especially in the Magic Kingdom, you go and you scan into the park, and then you're sort of corralled in the hub area. At Disney World, if you're an on-site resort guest, you do have extra time in the morning that non-resort guests don't get. Right now, Fantasyland and Tomorrowland are open during that extra morning time for resort guests. If you qualify when you're going to the hub, you will make your way that way, follow some signs, a cast member will scan your magic band to confirm that you are an on-site resort guest. And then you can basically wait on the bridge to Tomorrowland or the connecting area back into Fantasyland. So you're well deep into the park at Walt Disney World. When I was in Disneyland Paris, when we were doing extra magic hours for Disneyland Park, we were not in the park. We were being held outside of the gates, sort of near the Disneyland Hotel. At Disney World, you can be standing in Fantasyland at the rope, ready to head off to Seven Dwarf Mine Train something like 90 minutes before park open or an hour before early entry starts. In my experience at Disneyland Paris, no one was let into the theme park before extra magic hours started. For example, extra magic hours started at 8:30 a.m. We were all being held outside of the park. Then once 8:30 hit, cast members would visually inspect your annual pass or your magic pass. Your magic pass is your key card. On the back, it does have a bunch of information, including your name and the dates of your stay. In my experience though, they were just visually looking that you had it. No one was turning it over to look at the dates. No one was scanning it, nothing like that. Then once you make it past the visual inspection from the cast members, you went ahead and entered the park as per usual. You scanned your ticket and entered the park. I'm not saying this is better or worse than the Walt Disney World standard rope drop or extra morning magic hour system. It just is distinctly different. The advantages are largely the same though. If you're going for extra morning hours, the biggest thing is there will be shorter queues for some big rides. Disneyland Paris also had some characters out meeting and greeting, which is fun. Depending on your priorities, another thing that may be advantageous for you with extra morning hours is you can line up for popular meet and greets before crowds are let into the park. Princess Pavilion regularly has a 3-hour wait time, I'm not kidding. If extra magic hour starts at 8:30 and the day guests are let in at 9:30, I guarantee you there will be loads of people in both of those crowds making a beeline for Princess Pavilion. You can be part of that beeline at 8:30 if you want to save some time. Or you can do 1 or 2 short things and jump in that line around 9 a.m. before the 9:30 crowd comes. The Princess Pavilion typically doesn't open to start meeting and greeting until 10, so if you are waiting from 9 until 10 when it opens and then maybe another half hour before you get through, yes, that is 90 minutes in line, but that's considerably less than 3 hours in line. The Mickey meet and greet is a similar situation also. It doesn't tend to have a 3-hour line, but it does tend to have a line that is well over an hour long. You can make good use of your time during extra magic hours in the morning, do a couple of attractions, then hop in that line before the rest of the day guests arrive. As I mentioned previously, we were only able to do extra magic hours in the morning for Disneyland Park. It didn't exist at Walt Disney Studios Park when I was there, so I can't speak to that. But over in Disneyland Park, we did see Pooh meeting and greeting as well as Stitch during extra morning magic hours, which was fun. Mickey and Minnie were greeting people from the train station. You could certainly interact with them from a distance manner, but it's not a proper meet and greet by any means. But keep an eye out, there might be some cool characters around. My experience with rides during extra magic hours in the morning was a little confusing. Definitely not all of the rides are open, and it's also not like Disney World where they say these 2 lands will be open. It's just not like that. In my experience, there was no 100% way to know in advance what would or would not be operating for extra magic hours. I did also ask hotel staff and they basically just said, go to the park and whatever's open is open. You'll want to really be relying on your Disneyland Paris app for this. If a queue time is displayed, that means the ride is open during extra magic hours and go ahead and enjoy. Conversely, if there is no queue time displayed, that ride's probably not operating yet. We had really hoped to do Phantom Manor during extra magic hours, that's their version of the Haunted Mansion, but it just wasn't operational during extra magic hours for us. We basically had a rough plan of what we wanted to hit and what we thought might be good to do in the morning, but for example, also Pirates, Snow White, and Pinocchio were not operational during extra magic hours. There were big rides open though, so we just pivoted our plans. Open during extra magic hours in the morning was their version of Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, and Peter Pan. So it's not like all the heavy hitters are closed by any means, you just can't really know till you're there and in the park. For anything not open during extra magic hours, as long as it's not closed for refurbishment, it should come online with park open. If you really want to prioritize one of those rides that's not open during extra magic hours, I would start to hover around that attraction maybe 10 to 15 minutes before the park actually opens. Also, just a brief side note, in terms of food, there are very limited breakfast options in the parks. Most of the food, quick service or table service, doesn't start to open until 11 or 11:30 a.m. There are bits and bobs around, you can get coffee and a croissant, but nothing particularly substantial. If you're gonna take advantage of extra magic hours, knowing that you'll be in the theme parks from 8:30 a.m. to 11 or 11:30 a.m. without substantial food options, if you want breakfast, you should probably eat it at your hotel. You can grab something on the way into the parks at their version of Downtown Disney, or bring snacks with you, bring a granola bar, bring some goldfish, stuff like that. Overall, I'm definitely pro extra magic hours, and I think you wanna take advantage of them. You can get several attractions done before the park is open to the general public. We went in late August of 2022, it was over a bank holiday in the UK, the parks were at capacity every day we were there. But crowds at extra magic hours were pretty thin, there weren't that many people. For example, it was almost possible to get a picture with the castle with almost no one else in it. And as you'd imagine, the ride queues were pretty short. But again, you are going to need to be flexible with which rides you hit up during extra magic hours. So have a game plan in mind, but know that you may have to pivot and it's not a big deal. Plus, if you're going to be at Disneyland Paris for a couple days and this is an option for you, I would highly suggest you do 1 extra magic hour in the morning at Disneyland Park and 1 at Walt Disney Studios Park. That wasn't an option for us, but I think it would be a great way to get some big rides done in the morning. Personally, I'm really happy that we made participating in extra magic hours a priority. Like I mentioned, the night before our hotel package started, we intentionally moved to an offsite hotel that was very nearby the resort to make sure that we could get into extra magic hours with no snafus. We got a lot done, and I just love morning times in the parks. I think it's so beautiful and peaceful. Extra magic hours also was a driving factor in us deciding to stay on site. There's plenty of great nearby offsite hotels, but none of those qualify for extra magic hours in the morning. It's something to think about as you're planning your Disneyland Paris trip. For us, we figured this was probably a once-in-a-lifetime trip. I was happy to splurge not only to stay on site to get extra magic hours, but also we stayed at the Marvel Hotel. I wanted to be able to walk from my hotel to the parks pretty quickly. The Disneyland Hotel was closed while we were there, so this was my best option. If you've been to Disneyland Paris before and have done extra magic hours, I would love to hear about your experience below. Especially if you went over to Walt Disney Studios Park, that was something that we were not able to do. How did that go? Was Crush's coaster open? Because that's what I would rope drop for sure. If you have any questions about my experience with extra magic hours, leave those in the comments down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. I hope you found this helpful. May the rest of your day be magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.